Hey, what is up, guys? So, daily vlogging did not happen, but really, is anyone surprised? Okay, hear me out. For those of you who don't know, I am a single mom who works full-time, and not only full-time, but graveyards. So, until Kyler starts going back to school next week or the week after, things are gonna be really crazy. But I will say I have been brainstorming, I just haven't been filming it. So, I mean, I'm still technically behind. It is September 5th, technically. It is 10:16 p.m. I just got ready for work. I do have to finish getting ready for work by getting my lunch and stuff together, but I have been brainstorming. Let's see, let's go to the calendar part. So, as you guys can see, I've done the first 3 days, which the first 3 days had the most, so I'm really proud of myself for that. I'm actually really loving doing this, like the world building, the going through like the magic system and using these workbooks. Although as I'm doing it, even though I'm only 3 days in, a lot of the information is repetitive. So as it's going through, it's all kind of interwoven together. It's like puzzle pieces clicking into place and then overlapping. That's a horrible metaphor. Let's see. Think of, knitting, threads, how like you'll take a strand and a strand and then you'll interweave it together until it makes a whole blanket or a scarf or a sock or a sweater or whatever it is that you're making. Going through this and working through all the little prompts, I guess you would call them, it's helping me a lot. And even though it's repetitive, each day that I've done it, it kind of brings back to what I've done before. So then even though information is repeated, I'm adding more, I'm building more onto what I've had before. So with the 3 days, I've already, let's see, done this many pages. It may not seem like a lot, so it's about, so from 127 to about 20 pages for just 3 days. And then I've only got about 30 or so pages left in this one, and then I have to switch it over. But like I said, I'm loving it. The map part, I did go through and I printed off a map. And put it in because that's something that I've realized it is going to be urban fantasy. And what I'm doing is, so I've got a map of the normal city, and then I'm going to take another piece of paper, a thinner piece, probably like vellum, and overlap it and then kind of draw out the like magic districts or factions or whatever I decide to call them. But yeah, so let's go through and talk about what I've done so far. So I've kind of sort of decided on genre. My setting, I've been like just building up like where I want it to be, and actually like I'm still tweaking a few things here and there, but I created the main map for the magic part, and then once I decide on the species fully, I guess you would call them, like the magic beings, completely, then I'll know what to overlay for the city that I'm working in technically. I've done religion and magic alongside one another. So with that, it's how do they work? Like, do they coexist? Do they ignore each other? Does one not know that the other exists? Are they at war? Are they constantly at battle? Like, how do they mesh well? Like, do they mesh together? Like, do they mesh well? Is it horrible? Is it wars? Is it oblivion? Like, that sort of thing. And then how society influences religion and magic. So the society, are they for or against the magic and the religion that comes along with magic? Is there a religion that's completely against the magic? Is there magic that's completely against the religion? Those sort of things. And how does society influence those choices? How does society influence your characters and the beings that are in your world? How does society just help them decide where they are in like the religious and magic world? And then on the other side of things is how religion and magic influence society. So say you have a character who's completely grown up in the magic world and is all about this religion, and then they come over to, say, the modern world, and because of how they were raised in with the religion and the magic, how are their views affected in society? How are their actions changed and differ from those who have been raised in society? So how is society going on about with this religion and magic that's going through? I think I'm trying the best way to explain that. And then the last thing for day 1 that I've done was weaponizing religion and magic. So with this, it's not, I mean, you could go the literal form, like, hey, magic, anyone who's magic is a weapon. It's they're soldiers, they're automatically thrown into whatever war they want them to be in, or they want them to fight. Or it's, say, these bad guys, in the name of their religion, are killing off magic people, or vice versa. These magic people, in the name of their magic, are killing off these religious groups, or even just like normal mundane humans. So it's all about, like, in your story, or in my story, how am I weaponizing those? Am I weaponizing it? Am I deciding that the forefront, like the face of an organization, are they using the sign of something religious or magical as a way to kind of excuse their actions, as a way to kind of, what's the word, make it basically make their actions seem right to the outside world, because they're doing it in the name of so and so, or so and whatever it is. So then I did, and that part kind of helped me open up, because I needed to see a link between one thing between another, and working on that prompt helped me kind of figure out, like, the face, even though no one really knows what's going on in the background. At the forefront of it all, they think it's for something else, if that makes sense. And then day 2, I did draw your map, which I said, like, I drew, like, I mean, it's a pretty shitty drawing, but it's doing what I need it to do. I can see where things are and how it's laid out, what's where, so that whenever I come to a scene that comes to that part where that map is, I can imagine it a little bit more. So draw your map. And then drawing my map, I kind of was already thinking of the water sources, the capital, the different landscapes, the natural resources. Those are all like subcategories, or like different prompts in the world building workbook. But as I was drawing the map, I was already seeing it. So like it helped that one of the maps, so I have two main maps. One is basically the human side of things and where the magic world overlaps on the human side of things. And then in a completely different part is an island, basically. It's just an island of magic. So I'm building up and creating this island on my own, and that's where most of the world building is on the island, because with that's where I had to think about, okay, where are the rivers? Are there any lakes inside the island? The beaches, or how are people going to get to it, and how are they going to pass through? If they're just like, what are the security measures basically to avoid non-humans stumbling upon this magic island, right? Because they don't even want technology over there. It's that sort of island. So while with that, I did have to figure out the different places and placements and how it's divided up. Whereas with the city, it's already created. Everything's already there. Basically, all the resources from the magic world is going to be funneled through the human world, because they coexist, they overlap. Even though humans can't see the magic world is forever present and intermingles with the human world. So yeah, and then character. So the character one, it wasn't so much as define your set characters, because I'm not doing that quite yet. I'm going to start doing that in the outlining process. But think about characters in a way of who's living in this world, who is able to do what, how is it decided, basically how many different characters do you want, how, like for me, because it is a magic world, how many magic beings am I gonna want, who's gonna interact with what, and then how are they gonna interact with the human side of things? Are humans gonna be involved, or is it just after the main character goes from the human world to the magic world, is it just straight magic world, or is it going to be intermixed? So in that, for the character prompt, you're just trying to figure out how your world is going to be, because characters do drive your world. So what kind of characters do you want to represent your world, I guess I should say. And then the next one is persecution and eradication. So in the history of things, how has your world, like basically wars? I know that, I think in later days, let's see, like in later days we're gonna go through like a history of things, but this is kind of like a prologue or a preamble or whatever, pre-whatever, to that, where you kind of discuss, like, because obviously it's not just going to be like good flowing, it's not just going to be like straightforward, like, oh, here's the magic world, here's the human world, nothing happens between them, nothing happens within them, it's just boring, bland, because if it was that way, I wouldn't have a story, right? So kind of figure out the history. Where did it, like, who was prosecuted when? Like, did the humans ever figure out there was magics, and what happened? What made it revert back, if it reverted back, or if, like, say they coexist and they know they're there, like they live together, the humans know the magics are there, even though it's a double layer in the city. So, sorry, my alarm went off. But basically with the persecution and the eradication is trying to decide where, like, basically for me, the way I'm taking it is, what is giving my story, what's the word? Conflict. Sorry, I like totally spaced. As soon as my alarm went off, I totally spaced. But so the history and all of this, and it's basically giving a reason for these characters to have conflict. Like, hey, this group was persecuted because of this group, or this group tried to take out this group completely for no other reason except for fear or whatever. So that's how I took that prompt, is how I'm gonna work that into my story. and I actually got really great ideas through that. And then on the third and final day that I've done this, so technically I still have, what, 4 days to do, but with those 4 days, there's only 8 prompts. And then these 3 days, I did 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10, 11, 12, 13, 15. So it's not too bad. So, but anyways, so on the third and final day that I actually was able to work on the prompts, one of the prompts was sapient species. So this is where I had to decide what species I wanted in my world. And that's where things get a little more difficult. So like, I listed basics, but as I'm writing my story, I know I'm going to create more characters, more in depth, and be able to fully finalize the species in this world. So basically with that, it was just a page of kind of talking about the kind of beings that I want, but not really knowing the exact ones. So kind of, and I realized that some of these will be more of like basic skeleton answers that I can't fully answer until I outline and actually start writing the story, which I'm okay with, because at least I'm getting somewhere or starting somewhere. So there's that. And then society. So this goes back to kind of like, this is where I'm talking about it kind of interweaves and it kind of clicks into place, and then it just builds on top of one another. So even though I've talked about society in the previous prompts, I was able to add more of what I want my society to look like and be like without thinking about the magic and the religion and all of that. Like how in the societies, obviously there's going to be two, the human side of society and then the strictly magic side of society. And so I was able to kind of break those down. I was able to, whereas again, the human side, I don't really have to talk about as much because it does play off of the human world way more. But like the island life, the society of the island life, how is that going to play out? How, in my head, what am I seeing in the story? Obviously, all of this brainstorming and world building isn't going to be info dumped right into the story. In fact, half of this, they may, like, my readers may never even hear or see. So, but it's for me as the writer to know, so that if things do pop up, I'm already going to know the answer, or at least a hint of it, or know what direction I was going into. So, but yeah, and then the last prompt that I was able to do was the growth and decline prompt. So this kind of goes with persecution and eradication by where, like, were there spurts in history where things just grew? Like, did the magic world grow? Did the human world grow? And then where did it decline because of something that happened? So I was able to go more in depth, especially when it comes to magic and technology being introduced to each other. Basically, did magic decline or did it grow? Technology, how did, I mean, obviously technology just keeps growing and growing, but through these little spurts of growth, how's it affecting magic, type of thing. So I was able to talk about that. So that's just a quick update on what I've done. I think I'm not going to promise daily vlogs because I can never stick to it. I don't even know why I thought I could. But maybe I'll get there. So basically, I'm hoping to give you guys another update in a couple days. And then maybe I'll just sit down with you guys as well and kind of just work on a little bit and explain my thoughts process as I'm working through some of the prompts. So, but all right, guys, that is it for today's video. I know it's just more of me talking and updating, but yeah, I'm really enjoying this process. It's a little daunting and a little overwhelming. Like, it's taking everything in me to sit down and do it, just because I know this world's going to be very intricate and there's so many details that I want to add or have to think about that it kind of paralyzes me. But going through these prompts is making it so much easier, so I don't have to think about all the things all at once. And because it is all just piling on top of each other and adding more and building, like, it's making it so much easier. So I highly recommend this if you guys are a planner or want to try to be, or if world building is not your forte. I definitely recommend grabbing these books. I know she has a couple more. One is history and then one is destroying your world or something like that. So yeah, all right, I will see you guys in the next one. Bye.